Throughout Advent, we've been talking about the biblical text as if it were a movie, and we were making the movie. And today we finally come to the climax of our tale. We're finally at the heart of the Christmas story, where the Christ child is born. All the familiar characters converge in this final flashback, and it all begins to make a little bit more sense. That ties the rest of the movie together. All those pieces of the future that we had been getting come back to this moment, in this last scene, where God comes to earth as a baby, where tonight we begin with Mary in her 9th month of pregnancy. And Joseph is doing whatever he can to hold it all together as he and Mary are required to make this crazy trip back to their city of origin, back to Bethlehem, so that they can be counted, so that they can be taxed. And so they travel over the harsh terrain by donkey. And not just Mary and Joseph, but all the key players in this evening's story have an evening that is laced with travel. The angels come from heaven to give a message to those below. The shepherds receive a message out in the fields with their flocks, and then they head to a humble stable in town. Later in the story, we know that the astronomers, the wise men, will travel far across the country, using the stars to navigate their way. God pulls, gently tugging all of them out of their normal places and out of their comfort zones. This is not just a sweet tale that we hear every Christmas to warm our hearts. On the contrary, it's meant to pull at us, to tug on us, to yank us out of our comfort zones. The story does not take place where we would expect stories of important people to take place. It's not in the center of power or the center of action of that time. No, this story lures us on a journey farther and farther away from the familiar and the logical, and being away from the familiar, being away from what is expected, we can gather out on the fringes and take a whole new perspective on the birth of Christ. Being born on the outskirts himself, we get a glimpse into who and what and where and how Jesus' life and ministry are going to proceed. From out here on the fringes, we're invited then to be active participants in that life, in his ministry, in ways that might seem uncomfortable to us sometimes, where justice and hope and love are realized for all. Out here on the fringe of the fog, we look at the mess of sin and darkness, and God's Son comes in, and he breaks it up. In the silence of a dark night, the one who will overcome sin and darkness comes to shine his light upon us.